call. I don't know if you'd like to introduce yourselves. Jean, do you want to kickstart that off?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Jean Kubik, I'm the lead analyst for the SNAP policy team at ODHS.
Lucy or Stephanie?
Hi, I'm Lucy Huffman. I'm the food program coordinator with DHS.
And hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephanie Cook, and I'm an analyst for the SNAP program here at ODHS.
Great. And I'm assuming we have some people from our communications team. Vanessa, I saw you joined.
Hi, yes, was trying to fix my audio, so hopefully you can hear me okay. Vanessa Vanderzee, she, her, they, them pronouns, and I'm a communications officer for self-sufficiency programs.
And Tony, I saw you come on, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Just a brief introduction.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. What time is it? I don't know. Tony Aaron Fuller. I'm the Tribal Affairs Communications Specialist, member of the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Indian Reservation. And I hope that was it.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just doing some quick introductions. We want to make sure we have plenty of time for your questions, but it seems reasonable to sort of level set the goals for this meeting, which is being recorded, as you probably noticed, is that we get on the same page for Oregonians. You know, we need to make sure we're saying consistent and giving them consistent answers to the questions that are invariably rise. And you know, they need to know what's going on, why it's going on, and where to find additional services. And I know not everyone likes this phrasing, but I'm going to use this. You know, we also have a little bit of a selfish reason here at the agency, because we need your help to answer these questions that Oregonians are going to have, because you know, our eligibility teams are already stretched, and we know questions are coming in, but we're hoping to get your help to head off some of those questions. And so we want you not only knowing the information, but being confident about it and conveying that confidence to the Oregonians who interact with. Because we all know that if eligibility teams get stressed and strained, the service degrades and people have to wait longer, and they might take longer to get this, the services they need. So that's part of the motivation for this meeting. But let's also level set on the facts involved. And why don't I turn it over to Heather, since she's probably better versed on these things, and I'll put her on the spot.
Well, you know, it's that day that we have been planning for and hoped it would never come, that we'd find some kind of other solution. But unfortunately, with what we're looking at right now, this is going to be quite the dramatic drop for our families. On average, at the moment, Oregon has been serving families with about $70 million worth of additional food benefits on a monthly basis. We've kind of grown that program. There were some big changes that came on through about a year ago. You know, that actually a little bit longer than a year ago, that rose that minimum amount that families were receiving. And so that minimum amount was raised to $95 for those people that qualified. We're about 430-something thousand households at the moment that are receiving SNAP emergency allotment benefits. Now, for some families, that's and individuals, $95 is what is going to be kind of like immediately felt and lost, which, as we all know on this call, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of additional food support that those families are not going to have. On the further scale of this, though, there are families that qualified for larger amounts than $95 a month. And it was all based on what was the most that we could give those individuals based on their household size. You know, and so for some individuals, this is going to be, again, quite the drop in benefits back down to what their original SNAP base allotment is, what we call it, their eligibility benefit amount for the regular program is going to be. So what we know is that that's going to be confusing for families, both to understand that that really is their actual SNAP benefit amount. It's going to be really hard for folks to also understand how to budget those remaining benefits and what's left there for them. That's one of the things that we definitely need your help in amplifying that message, that they don't have to use those benefits all at once. Those last emergency allotment issuances can be used over a period of time. It can be used by those families to kind of stagger the food dollars over those next coming months. Again, not going to address everything that we know that they're going to need to have, but hopefully that messaging will also help families not rush and panic into using those benefits before they really need to. So part of the reason that this is all changing is down to the omnibus bill that really has reallocated that funding. This is the beginning of that resetting of the public health emergency coming to an end. We kind of suspected that SNAP was going to be one of the first programs that would see some of those changes coming through some of the federal decisions that are being made. And, you know, a 70 million a month price tag, like I say, that's a lot of benefits. What we need to be able to make sure that we're doing throughout all of this is making certain that people have reported to the agency the things that really are going to change their SNAP allotment, so that base allotment that they have really is maximized to the most that it can be for them. The other part of this really is also for some of those more vulnerable populations, really seeing what other wraparound services could be there, either within our department, in additional dollars that could be available to them, or through the community networks that we know that they're connecting with. And again, I think that's where the partnerships we have with folks on this call is so very valuable, because you know where we can help direct some of our families towards. And those resources we recognize are going to be some of those additional areas that will need some additional support from us too, just from making sure that we have the right information to communicate about your programs, as well as you having the right information about ours. So for many individuals, and I promise I'm going to stop being a talking head very soon, for many individuals, this is going to be a lot of additional change on top of some other really big program changes too. And I don't want to minimize the effect of that. We do have things coming up that could be affecting some of our other program areas for SNAP. We also have people who are nervous about what their medical programs are going to look like and what the redetermination cycle is going to look like for their programs there. So any reassurance that we can give beyond even our program area is something that we're really trying to also focus on and have a coordinated response. For most families, they've been receiving these benefits for 3 years. That's a really long time, and we know that messaging that needs to go to them to explain why, the why is never going to be good enough. I'll be upfront about that. We don't have a recourse to it on the federal side, but there is an acknowledgement and recognition that these benefits have really helped to address some of the food insecurity issues in our state over the last 3 years. And that burden of food security, when we're not able to address this through the food benefit programs we have, definitely starts impacting some of the resources you have in the community. So we want to make sure that we're good partners in that work as well. James, is there anything else that you wanted me to cover?
No, I think that's unfortunately good. Any other questions that have popped up related to some of just this basic background? Yeah, Julia.
Thank you so much, Heather. My name is Julia. I use she, her pronouns, community outreach and engagement with Age Plus for older adults across the state. So you mentioned that some people will be losing the $95 minimum amount. What is the range? Is it can you say like it could be anywhere from $95 to X amount that people may be losing?
That's a really hard question to honestly answer, Julia, because everybody's benefit amount is based on their individual needs. Usually there is a like a minimum for the program, but in most cases, especially with our older adult populations, we know that they have had the most support in some instances through this program, because many of them, due to their income, their fixed income, only meet that minimum base allotment for the program. And so this has really been a huge lift for them for additional food resources. There were some changes with the Thrifty Food Plan, which is kind of like the base allotment for the SNAP program about a year and a bit ago now. It's still not enough, honestly. We can make sure we get those fact sheets out to you and the other people on the call. But I think the key thing is going to really be understanding, I guess, where they can go to check what their base allotment is, how they can then kind of make sure that what they've reported to us really allows us to see that we've captured everything we need to make sure they're getting the first best allotment. And that's a process that we can do either by taking people's information, but it's also a process we usually address at recertification.
So thank you. That was going to be my second question, which is, figuring out, okay, starting March 1st, I will be getting this, like planning for that. It doesn't seem like a person can go back 3 years and see what they were getting back then. So is there a way to figure that out prior to the money getting cut?
Not easily, no, is the quick answer. We have the ability, and they have the ability, I think, through the one system to see what their case actually looks like for those who are online. For those who are not, they can connect with the department to try to understand some of that. But there are easy ways to know some of it. Typically, when we've been sending out our benefits for emergency allotments, we've really spaced it out to a different part in the month. So if that individual pays attention to what they receive through either the 1st to the 9th of the month, which is their base SNAP allotment, that gives them an idea of where their benefits actually sit. Everything that we've done for emergency allotments have always been in that, generally around the 11th of the month onwards. To try to distinguish between those things. So that's a good guideline, I think, for people, like a talking point of how do I know? Some of these things change over time, and sometimes through that recertification process, it really is, where we best find out, have we got everything that we need to make sure you're at the right level that you need to be at? Robin, I see your hand up. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Good to see you too, Heather. Hi, everyone. Robin Johnson. I use she or they pronouns. You can also use my name. I am the planner and policy liaison for Aging, Disability, and Veteran Services Division at Multnomah County. And I want to just start by saying thanks to our partners at DHS for your continued partnership through this process. I think it's been collaborative and hard. I think that one of the things I think would be important for this conversation today, and it feels heavy, right? We're going to acknowledge that this conversation feels heavy. I can see it in your squares. I can see it on your faces. I can feel it in my body. And really want to make sure that we take our time today knowing what's going to be like the most effective collective action on this, which is figuring out the ways that, because I see two pretty critical things, is that folks should be able to identify on the app like how many benefits this might be. We know it's effectively going to be a cut to people's food stamp benefits. We accept it. It's hard. and making sure that folks have a way to report changes. And in my conversation with ODHS, that is one of my greatest concerns that we haven't necessarily addressed as effectively in the materials, is like, we know that wait times right now are super long for the call center, for folks to see their case manager, that sort of thing. So that's really what is of concern to me, is that how do we utilize the FAQ, like instead of taking time to try to explain to folks how much their benefits are going to go down, to just assure that folks may see a dramatic reduction in benefits, and the ways you can mitigate it really are getting onto the app to report any changes in income or housing expenses or other expenses, and really emphasizing or pushing on that piece around the app. Because I mean, James, this is just a follow-up from our conversation. What I understand from our experience as a type B transfer AAA and our own wait times, that it would just be really, because there are two lines of communications, right? It's those to the community members, which for me feel like the highest priority. And then there's that whole other comms, like how do we speak to the state about what is happening in the transition? So that's just kind of what's like sitting on my chest right now. And I'd really be open to hearing from other folks who do outreach and community connection, like what's feeling like most important to you. And I know I'm not in charge of this meeting or anything that we're doing. I just really want to hear like how we can best use this 1 hour, and how often are we going to come together over the rollout of this information.
I think that's probably a good transition to talk about the comms plan as it exists right now. And so, and we'll think about how often we'll be getting together again as we move forward. But Vanessa, your turn to be put on the spot.
Yeah, I really appreciate what you shared, Robin and Julia. And I think probably helpful to kind of remind folks, since it's been a while since we checked in, what the messaging that we've drafted is to this point, what, has some flexibility and can certainly use support from partners and all of that. So we are working with our publications unit to get out a mailed notice to SNAP clients. So we had already drafted that and run that past partners. It got translated, so now we're just in the process of getting that message updated and the translations updated. That message does have some guidance on how they can kind of get an idea for what their regular SNAP benefit is. And then it also reminds them to report any changes through the one system, or by calling. Appreciate Robin calling out the wait times. And I know we certainly want to point people to create a one account if they're able to, and update it that way. So that was kind of our first priority, was to get to publications and make sure that we're in the process so that that mailed notice can get out as soon as possible. There's obviously a lot of steps that have to be taken in order for that to actually reach someone at their address. So that is in the works. We also, since Wednesday of last week, have been working to notify staff so that everyone is aware that they have talking points, so that they can start having these conversations with clients as they come up, and to do so in a trauma-informed and mindful way. And also, keeping in mind that some of our ODHS staff will also be impacted by this change to emergency allotment. So it's going to be difficult for them and for the people that they're talking to, as I'm sure is the case for many of our partners as well. So that's been the priority, to get that out super quickly so that we can start communicating then with the public. So the first step in doing that will happen tomorrow with a press release. Jake Sunderland, our press secretary, has drafted that and is working with our bilingual communications officers to refine that message and get it translated into Spanish as well. So the plan is to get that press release out around 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I think the idea is to ensure that our partners also receive that press release. Of course, it'll go out through Flash Alert and our Gov delivery system, but we want to make sure our partners are getting that as well. And then as soon as the press release is out, we can start cascading updates to social media to make sure that the word is really out there, updating our website, and yeah, all of our other online options for notifying folks. We do have a couple of other documents that were translated into multiple languages. And so the next step with publications will be getting those documents updated and the translations updated. So one of those was a flyer that we created, and again, brought through our partner group and got feedback from you all. So thank you so much for that. That flyer, again, has instructions on how folks can see their regular SNAP benefit through One or through EBT Edge. As Heather pointed out, it is a little confusing, and I wish there was an easier way. I wish there was a way we could individually tell every SNAP household, you know, what their benefit's going to be going back to. But this was kind of the best that we could do. And I think that flyer makes it pretty clear how they can check that. So that has additional information, and again, it's translated into multiple languages. And then of course, we had created talking points for you all, for partners. Those are in the process of getting some updates because like James and Heather mentioned, this is happening a little bit differently than how we anticipated because of the federal spending bill. So as we get those updated, we'll of course provide those to you alongside the flyer and all the other materials that are going to be going out. Trying to think, James, Heather, is there anything important that I've missed so far? I'm happy to pull up any of the documents just to like refresh people's memory on what some of those looked like.
Yeah, I was a little slow to pull. Every time I was about to share it, then you moved on to the next one. I was just too slow.
Sorry.
I wasn't anticipating this.
Moving quick.
But I'd say the other document would be the FAQ.
Yes, so the FAQ, I know we had kind of put past partners a few times before and had gotten some suggestions for questions you were anticipating or needing help answering. I think there's even been a couple of things that have just been brought up in this meeting so far that we might want to add to that. I know it had gotten some suggestions, but I'm sure it needs many more. And I'd love for it to be kind of a living document that we can add questions and answers to as you're hearing things, as you're, you know, struggling to answer specific questions. However, we can update that to support you all. So James, I don't know if you want to kind of run that past this group again so they can take a look at it and make additional suggestions.
Yeah, I guess it'll let you all think about. In the email that went out announcing this meeting, I listed all the questions that we currently have. And so if there was any other ones, we would certainly appreciate it. I will go ahead and share what we've got so far, I suppose. Yeah. I hit the right button. There we go. So as you can see, it's a bit of work still to be filled in right now, but can I appeal a decision? And will this return in the future? Who can I contact if I have any questions about my case? Do I need to report this to my housing caseworker? And what else is available to help me and my family? Yeah, Robin.
Thanks. And I'd really, I think one of the things that, do we address wait times in the FAQ?
Not that I can recall, so I think that's a good call out.
And I think that would be a great, really a great question for folks on the list who really are close to community and know what's gonna like what's going to be of critical importance to them. And really, as I said before, what's sitting on my mind is the access to the app. And so maybe if a question like, where can I get technical assistance or help with the app? Like if I don't know how to do it, or if it's, I don't know what kind of questions people would have about an app. I have lots of questions about lots of apps all the time. And so we could totally like, I don't know what that is, or maybe it's a little video that shows that's translatable. Because one of the things that I do understand about the app is that it's not fully translated. And so
it's just English and Spanish, unfortunately.
yeah. So there's just wanted to like get down to some of like what's really going to be helpful at the individual level. So thank you so much for the indulgence.
And I would say calling it an app at this point is a little generous, because really it's a computer program and we don't have an app, and that's coming the fall or something like that, which I'm very excited about, given I saw some data that 40% of people who access the One system do so on their phone as it is. So, yeah, there is a technical helpline, but I shudder to think about how it's not a traditional, it's more about getting access and computer technical questions as opposed to app. We'll have to think about how to phrase that question and how to answer it, of where I can get help with the One system. So Ashley?
Hi, yeah. Ashley from Family Tree. So we work directly with families. We don't have the ability to enroll anyone in SNAP, but we oftentimes, we do touch base with families about SNAP monthly, and offer support with navigating the paper application. So just kind of throwing it out there as someone who does work with families daily, I think some of the questions will be around budgeting. I know we have some resources in-house that we hope to support families with. I think, trying to explain the wait time. I do think technology can be a barrier at times, because not every family has access to a computer or a cell phone. And so, how do I update my benefits if I can't access a computer? But those are also things that Family Tree can support with and navigate. So I think there will be questions, but I oversee SNAP for our organization. So I've been preparing myself, but I can definitely share with the team the questions that we are getting as they arise.
That would be wonderful. Appreciate that, Ashley. We're going to wrap up this FAQ, and I think it might help showing the flyer too, which has some directions on how to use the One system. But as you can see, how do I learn more about resources for adults who are 60 and older? I'm living with a disability. Are there additional food programs that can help me? An inflation question and about, are there other resources in Oregon available to help? And is there transportation support to help me to a food bank? So just some to jog your thoughts. Ashley, is your hand still up? Okay, Jason, I see your hand is up though.
Yeah, thanks. Just briefly, one of the questions that, and obviously we would be the ones receiving this question, but it is one that has come up a few times, is whether or not the upcoming changes to SNAP will affect people's eligibility to receive other forms of food assistance. Specifically for us, it's folks who may be coming to a pantry and saying, like, my benefits are going down. Does that mean I won't be able to get food here? And we just have really tried hard to stress that food remains available to all who need it through the Emergency Food Assistance Network. I don't know if we necessarily need to address that in the FAQ, but it may be a question that comes up in regards to other benefits as well, right? Like if my SNAP benefits are going down, am I going to lose X? So that's just one question that came up, that's come up fairly frequently in recent weeks. The only other thing that I just wanted to note was just a technical thing. In the earlier versions of the FAQ, we had cited OregonFoodFinder.org as a way to find your local food bank or free food market, pantry, meal site, etc. And in this version, I think they're separated under 2 bullet points, and those can be recombined.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, well, I know the flyer went out with the draft. Well, the flyer went out with the email, but not everyone may have it at this point. So here's the second page of the flyer where it talks about how to view your SNAP benefits in the applicant portal, if you already have an account, as it points out. You know, and there's certainly an assumption of a certain amount of experience with the one portal, of course. But hopefully it is relatively straightforward for those who have been in the one system before. And there's that food finder. Okay, and I did get a suggestion as well about you know, something for the FAQ. Will this affect my OHP insurance as well? So we have some homework to do. I'm curious what other groups, given this deadline that's now upon us, what other things people are doing that may or may not be important to the rest of us, but might be good for us to hear.
I know here at Goodwill, what we're emphasizing is that regardless of how small the SNAP benefit is if the individual is looking for work, they'll qualify for the STEP program, and allowing them to, you know, work, increase their income, get assistance with those things. Now, that doesn't help people who can't work due to disability, mental health issues, whatever it may be. But that is one message that we're continuing to deliver. So as the resources available through the STEP program, for them to just don't give up on SNAP benefits being there only for food resources, but there are other resources tied to the SNAP benefits that they can still access.
That's a good point. And it certainly makes sense for Goodwill and something to keep in mind. I have a recollection that the Oregon Food Bank had a flyer that I was going to put with their food boxes. Is that still going forward?
Yes, and not just in dedicated food boxes, but we're working to make them available to everyone who we know to be SNAP eligible at local food assistance sites. It's going to be a little bit before we can get those distributed because we obviously had to update the dates and things like that from the original, but those are available in 7 languages. Food Finder is now available in 14 languages. So we do have a solid language access through both of those mediums. In addition to that, we're also going to be engaging in, at the very least, a digital campaign, potentially a broadcast campaign as well, to raise awareness of the resources that remain available to folks. Again, reinforcing that Food Finder is a place where people can go and find assistance regardless of eligibility for SNAP, regardless of the EA benefits. And that's a 6-figure investment that we're making in that awareness building campaign. And we're going to be targeting that towards the hardest hit communities in terms of where we see the greatest need.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else have plans or even general concerns? Robin, I'm sure you have other ones.
Thanks, James. No, but someone else has to have a concern. I'm sure they're out there.
I was gonna type this into the chat, but I'll just ask out loud. This is a question for Jason. Do you have the funding? Will you be doing Spanish language radio ads? We found that was quite helpful with COVID messaging.
Yeah, the Food Finder, the current Food Finder PSA is available in English, Spanish, and I believe Ukrainian. It was targeted mostly towards radio. So those are the 3 languages that were most available. We're exploring public service announcement partnerships with television, Spanish television as well. And we had originally arranged for them last summer when we thought we were looking at initially a July deadline, and then we had to kind of scuttle those plans. So we're re-engaging on that front now. So I can't say for sure which stations they're going to run on yet, but I would expect that we'll have the same commitment that we had last year from as many media outlets as possible.
And James, that actually, Julia's question reminds me. So first, I just wanted to say our bilingual communications officers will be providing quotes to Spanish media. And we're also looking at doing Facebook Live for both our Spanish and English Facebook pages. I know we previously had asked if there would be any partners willing to participate in those live events. I've had Oregon Food Bank noted as one of the partners that would be willing to hop on the live with us. But if there are others that are interested in either the Spanish or the English Facebook Live, that would be great.
Vanessa, can you say again who's going to be on the live?
So that is going to be our bilingual communications officers handling that. So Adriana and Marlene, who have been on this call in the past, or some of these calls in the past, and we can reach out to you via email with more details on that. But they were just hoping to have some partners also involved in the call so that they can talk about additional resources. Yeah.
Well, I just want to, I'd really love to hear from other folks on the call too. I just want to emphasize that, I don't know what that is, but it sounded real good. I think it's both a balance about resources, like other resources available, and it's actions that people can take. And so if the department is going to put some time and capacity into actions that individuals can take other than going and getting a food box, which everyone who's on SNAP already knows how to do, all love to emergency food boxes in the emergency food system, but just really wanting to make sure that we're addressing that we know about the wait times, that the web portal, for lack of a better term, is like the way to do it. And if they need a live, if folks need a live about how to access that, or going to the library to access it, knowing that the wait times can be a long time. And I'm not going to say it anymore. I'm just saying if we're going to have those kind of fancy, like Facebook and social media ready things, that would really be a great thing, because this is really about how to make sure where folks know how to do what they need to do about this resource, and then continue their engagement with additional emergency food resources that folks have been engaged with for a long time.
Indeed. Okay. Let's see. I had something in mind when I started speaking and then I lost it, but Memo, you're here to speak up, so that's great.
Sorry, James. I like what Robin said. I appreciate that. And I think that we should also take advantage of the assisters though they don't have access to help people apply for food stamps or so on, they can help clients or individuals create an account. So I'm not sure how we can go about that, but I think that's another resource to send individuals, to send them to community assisters to help them open up one account.
Yeah, this is an old sore point of mine, that we do minimal training for our assisters, and this is something I've spoken with Zoe, who's here on the call, with the college navigators. They have put together a document that helps people open an account and navigate their one system. That's something we could share. There's some other things doing. We have other things in the works, yada yada, but of course, not in the timely manner that is needed for this February end date that we're facing. So Memo, I really appreciate your effort for that. Those of you who are interested in helping people open one account, I'm not sure how to, let me know. Drop me a line. We'll make sure to get materials up. Chances are, when we get sent the notes, probably just send something out to everyone. But as Robin is emphasizing, if we can direct more people to the computer system, hopefully they don't have to wait as long for help on other people do make their call. And Annie, you have your hand up.
Hi, this is Annie Kirshner, she, hers, with Multnomah County Youth and Family Services Division. Good to see you all. Speaking of partners and navigators and assisters, was just curious, I didn't see on the invite list many SNAP outreach partners or like contractors, some for sure, but I'm just curious, like, if this level of like communication messaging has gone out to that whole network of partners, and if not, I think, having those folks not just have the messaging, but have access to be able to submit the questions they're getting to the FAQ, because they'll be getting them. And I will say, like, for within Multnomah County, Rob and I have been talking for a long time about how we can help boost it, and I'll be, doing what I can to help get it out to partners within the county, but just curious about that kind of statewide, and how much the outreach folks have this level of info.
Yeah.
And sorry,
Go
James.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so Annie, this is Stephanie with ODHS, and I help kind of coordinate the outreach. I did send the messaging that James had provided last week out to all of our outreach partners. So the contacts that I have for all of our contracted partners, as well as invited them to this meeting today. So I'm trying to kind of go along with the messaging that our communications team is sending out and get that same messaging out to our outreach partners.
Yes, Stephanie, thank you. I was just thinking of bringing you in, so that's perfect. I'll point out that the history of this group, we actually started 2 years ago. I noticed I have an agenda from January of 2021. And so the history of it is mainly about how do we formulate the communication. Now that we're in action, yes, we do need to expand who we're reaching out to. So Annie, thank you for calling that out, because I had not fully articulated that to myself. But with Stephanie's help, we will certainly be doing outreach to this group. In additional, we need to do some specific outreach to our tribal partners as well. So we're nearing the end. This one question that I had for this group was brought up earlier, is how often, well, when should we be meeting again to discuss how this is moving forward? We want to be available to you. Of course, we are via email, but should this group get together again in a month or something sooner? And this is when shy people can take themselves off mute and speak up. Or comment.
Okay, so someone who's not shy will speak up. I think until the message is delivered, for the first couple of months, I really think we need to meet regularly. And then if there are any changes, we decide collectively as a group or whoever decides to meet quarterly, if that's appropriate. But we need to stay on top of this and make sure that we're delivering the messages, being consistent. And the only way to do that is regular communication between all of us. So. Yeah, I agree. At the beginning, Angelita. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's we'll see how much more we have, but you know, in a sense, this is going to perhaps, you know, we'll give a short update and then turn into a little bit of an answer session. Maybe it won't take the full hour, but like I said at the beginning, we want you to be confident in the information you're going to be sharing with people. And you know, one thing that I thought of that wasn't mentioned, or unless I space it out, that Heather may have covered, is one thing that anticipating a question is, you know, if for some reason someone's benefits are delayed, the federal government has told us we can, you know, still have emergency allotments, even if someone's hadn't gotten their benefits, even though they were due for February, for instance. So it's sort of a technical thing of, if someone's benefits are delayed, we'll still be able to get them emergency allotments. But again, it ends in February. So okay, well, it's always a pain in the neck to find times. It may not be 2 weeks from today, but we'll look in the next couple of weeks for another meeting. So any other questions or thoughts? Help us get the word out about this meeting, about the notes that come out, and of course, about the services that Oregon families will need when this reduction suddenly hits them the second week of March. So thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.